This morning we're broadcasting live from the University of South Africa's Florida Park campus in Johannesburg. UNISA, best known for its comprehensive open distance and e-learning model of higher education. But in the past few years of its more than 152 years of existence, it's become one of South Africa and the African continent's leading scientific research and innovative institutions. Well, to highlight this, UNISA has identified 10 catalytic niche areas that will hopefully not only activate and enhance its academic agenda, but are framed around the institution's strategy of shaping Africa's intellectual futures. So let's go to UNISA right now, and that's where Sakina is broadcasting from, and she's got a lot more from there. So Sakina, good morning to you. Always nice to highlight UNISA, amazing institution.
This morning we're talking about education and in the higher education sector. And as you know, with Morning Live, we've looked into what happens post-school after the National Senior Certificate exams. We've explored options for matriculants who don't know where to go, because this is a serious matter. If you look at the fact that more than 300,000 learners are actually eligible to study at universities across the country, and only over 200 places available for those students, where do the rest go? Quite apart from postgraduate students, who also are looking for placements elsewhere. Now, we are at UNISA this morning because previously we've gone to TVET colleges just to explore what is available there and what students could get into. And I must say, reading about UNISA, because you think you know an institution until you start peeling back the layers, and then you realize there's so much more to it that you were not even aware of. Science, technology and innovation at UNISA. And I'm thinking, many of you thinking, where? When did all of this happen at UNISA? Well, it has, and it has happened in a very big way. And this is what we're here to talk about this morning. As many of you know, I am just a sucker for stats, and looking at some of the stats, it makes for very interesting reading if you think about students and what they have to go through. Now, if you look at some of the disparities that exist in terms of positions that are available for students to occupy in the higher education sector, University of KwaZulu-Natal, for example, they received over 290,600 applicants, and that was for approximately 8,600 first-year places. You see where the problem comes in. And then, of course, Durban University of Technology, they had 147,076 applications for 9,454 places. And Stellenbosch University received 90,027 applicants for only 6,005 places. So, where do the rest go? And this is where an institution like UNISA comes into its own. And that is why we're here this morning to tell you more about this institution, not just in terms of where it's been historically, and even that was quite interesting to see how it started out, but where it is today and how it actually plays that role in closing the gap for South African students. And I'm joined by the Principal and Vice-Chancellor, Prof Puleng LenkaBula. And thank you so much for allowing us, welcoming us so warmly here at UNISA.
Welcome to UNISA, Sakina. I'm very appreciative of the statistics that you've just shared around making universities accessible or higher education accessible. The University of South Africa receives over 1,200,000 applications, and we do so in a university that has an enrollment process of about 400,000 students. The students are in undergraduate studies, but also the postgraduate studies. Because of the scale and size of UNISA, we are also the science diplomat of the country, meaning we have a footprint in 130 countries where we have to recruit the students from, so that we demonstrate the best of South Africa's knowledge arena, but also the best of science in Africa, in the world. And I think this is the contribution that UNISA is making. We mediate this through multimodality, through virtual education, and therefore our students must optimize technologies to mediate their learning. We also do so within students accessing the facilities of learning, and we have 26 in the country, including in Ethiopia, presence in Eritrea, in the UK, in the US, as part of ensuring that the critical assets of the country and the knowledge that is done by our university is not just limited to South Africa, but it meets the demands of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2063 of Africa, but also the National Development Plan. So I'm very happy that you're here, where excellence is our business and where we are truly committed to shaping futures, ensuring that South Africans, Africans, and global citizens look at UNISA as a site of excellence and knowledge and research.
Professor LenkaBula, you know, when one thinks of UNISA traditionally, you think of Nelson Mandela, you think distance learning. And I was asking you this question off air about this multimodal type of approach to education. So you said it's online, it's distance, and it's contact. Because and that's the one I want to come to, because I want us to quickly branch into your niche areas, those 10 catalytic niche areas that UNISA have embarked on under your watch.
Yeah, I think we should celebrate that UNISA was quite innovative when it created distance education. We're the first in the world to use distance education at a university level. 100 years later, after the aftermath of COVID-19, with remote learning, people realized that it's important to mediate education access with success and optimizing our own modalities. And I think that speaks to the asset of innovation and making university education accessible, which UNISA has been in the forefront. But we also, whilst we appreciate our scale, our size, our shape, our ability to enable students to study anywhere, anytime, and overcoming the boundaries of time and space, geography, or even location, whether digital systems or in person, we recognize that science, natural sciences, are very important for any country to be competitive. And therefore, we have developed the catalytic niche areas that have been absorbed by the university to advance research, to advance innovation, to allow students to have diversities of knowledge that they can use in the 21st century, where there are multiple convergences, whether of technologies, of sciences, of innovations, or even of countries and communities in multimodal experiences. And so these are aviation and aeronautics. It's very important, if you look at the competitiveness of Southern African airlines, that we as universities must be partners in ensuring that they are competitive, that the technical knowledge base is available, but that they can also export that knowledge into other areas to create competitiveness. It is a pity that SAA, which was once #1, is now ranked 3 or 4 or 5 in the continent. So it is incumbent on universities that are partners to the imagination of any society to ensure that we have sites of knowledge that help anchor the economic optimization of our country. Maritime studies and oceanography have also become important elements. We sit on the Atlantic Ocean and the Africa Ocean, others call it the Indian Ocean. A vast amounts of knowledge, whether on fisheries, whether on export-import systems, logistics, or even whether on diversity, eco-diversity of oceans. These are critical areas, whether water resources management. These are areas that we have deemed important for the country to invest in, and our scholars are looking into those areas. The other aspects are biotechnologies and nanotechnologies. This university is the only one in the country and in the continent that is doing the biogenome project, meaning we are sequencing the biogenetic materials of fauna and flora for the continent to look at the diversities, but also to look at how we conserve our own biodiversity in the context of ecological degradation and climatic changes. So I'm quite excited about some of this. This is just a foretaste of what's available, but we have 10. They're exciting. Scientists are joining the university. Students are saying, we want to work with you because these are quite interesting areas for our work.
And I'll tell you what, we are going to show you some of that as we progress through the morning. We're here at UNISA, we're at the Roodepoort campus, and I tell you, it's quite exciting when you think about science, innovation and technology. And of course, again, you may not have thought that you should be applying to UNISA if you want to go into any of those niche areas that Professor LenkaBula just spoke about, but we're actually going to show you because it is possible and there are opportunities here. But for now, back to studio with Leanne.
Thanks very much, Sakina. Looking forward to it. So we'll see exactly what it is that they have for us as we continue the broadcast.